Hello. Hi. So as you can see from the title of the video, this will basically be me talking about the Four Knights of the Apocalypse manga. And I have to say though, the recent two chapters has actually given me some kind of pause on what I was saying originally about the series. Not by much, mind you. I'm still not fully sold that it's as good as the original Seven Deadly Sins, because it really took a long time before I'm even interested in it. But on another side note, okay, I actually recently just took a look again at what Gawain represent, like which member of the apocalypse she was actually representing, and that was actually Famine. Which, curious enough, if you remember playing the Darksiders apocalypse game, you for anybody who actually remembers that, in there, the rider of the Black Horse, Fury, was also a woman. So my current working theory is the author of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse manga must have played through the Darksiders series, because again, it's one of the best game series out there. I am not that big of a fan of the third game, more of a fan of the first two, but still, the whole lore, characters, and just general premise of the actual series itself is really cool, as well as the design for the characters in there as well. Each of them has a very unique and distinctive look that I really think is great. So, if that's where the author took inspiration from as well, I mean, like, hey, the man's a genius, and there's really nothing else better out there in terms of media and kind of like similar to what he's doing right now to absorb from. So, there is that, okay? But moving on from that, the reason why I feel like making this video, right, is because chapter 78 and 79, where we get to see Meliodas fighting off against a supremely powered up King Arthur. And actually, Meliodas is still Meliodas. He's actually still really powerful. But the shocking thing is, actually, that Arthur is actually able to do so well against Meliodas, But what's even more surprising is that Lancelot so far seems to be the only one who has had full capabilities to deal and completely crush Arthur. But again, it's still very early into this battle between the two of them, so I can't really say that he's stronger than Arthur right now. At least a chaos-powered King Arthur. But what is interesting is that Lancelot is so far the only one shown to have had full control over his powers. We've seen Tristan. He has no control over his father's side of the powers. He only has control over his mother's side. And frankly speaking, he's not really that powerful. At least as compared to Elizabeth. He's kind of actually really weak, Elizabeth seems to be a lot more powerful than him, but that's just kind of my current general view of this. And when using his father's power, he's actually quite a lot more powerful. Still infinitely weaker than his old man, but he's actually a lot better. Then we have Gawain, who is, I hate to say this, she's still my favorite of the entire cast, but she's still kind of weak. I believe she's only the third in terms of power set, which is kind of disappointing considering she's the master of the sun. I mean, she's not the god of the sun like Escanor was, or another of the god of the sun like Maio. She's kind of just master of the sun, so it's kind of disappointing because she's not as powerful as Escanor, nor is she as powerful as Maio. I mean, try and change my mind about this, because I think the two of them are actually infinitely more powerful than she is, and I just really can't see, I just really don't understand, how she's not yet as powerful as Escanor, considering she was with Arthur for what seems to be quite a decent amount of time. Maybe she wasn't trained properly at the time, because, it was actually Meliodas going all out against Escanor, beating him when he was at his best. that slowly helped Escanor to be able to focus his power. So I guess maybe that's why she doesn't have anybody powerful enough to really train her. But I would still think Merlin would be a decent training partner. But then again, maybe she does need somebody who's like just pure raw power to help her train and focus her strength in the same way as Escanor had in Meliodas. But yeah, so far she's still like one of the weakest, which is kind of embarrassing considering she has the namesake power of sunshine, or what seems to be sunshine, like Escanor. So you would expect her to be a little more powerful. I would still say this is most probably not sunshine, considering her powers doesn't ebb and wane. Like something like Sunshine's previous owner. So I don't think it is, but I think it is definitely something similar to Sunshine. So we'll work on that a little more. As for Percival, I mean, like, to be fair, what you expect. He didn't really have anybody who's like on the same level as like the Lady of the Lake, or somebody on the same caliber like Meliodas to train him. Or even in Gawain's situation, what seems to be Arthur trying to take her back every time she runs away. So like, she has had somebody to beat up, so she could actually train. So yeah, I kind of feel bad for him considering he's like the one with the later start, but he is the current protagonist of the series. And judging by how the author tends to write his protagonist, or at least how he tends to write his current set of protagonists for the Seven Deadly Sins and Four Knights of the Apocalypse manga, expect Percival to reach such a point where he's like truly befitting of the title of Death, and truly befitting the leader of the Seven Deadly Sins, the Four Knights of the Apocalypse. Sorry, it gets a bit confusing when I just kept repeating the title for both series. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to see how Lancelot completely kicks Arthur's ass. Because again, even in the original series, back when Arthur was still quote-unquote a good guy, I hated his ass. He was the worst character, I believe, in the old series. I'm at least happy that they made him a douchebag in the new series, so I can see him happily get his ass kicked by the heroes. And because this is a shonen protagonist manga, that he's gonna die, and he's gonna get his ass kicked. How? If the author takes inspiration from the revised version of the Arthurian legend of King Arthur, which, funnily enough, if I remember correctly, the original legend for King Arthur was not actually him being, like, betrayed by his wife and Lancelot and the whole, I think with Mordred, I believe, or Mordin, I can't remember the exact name, but, with them, which led to his death. I don't believe that was how the original Arthurian legend was. I believe that the whole, like, love triangle kind of thing, legend was more of a revised version of it. I could be wrong, because it's been a while since I last looked into it, but I believe so. So far what I can see is, the author is taking inspiration from the revised version. So if we are, also one more thing, he's also mashing up all of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse legend, along with the Arthurian legend, along with a bunch of other stuff. So, a hodgepodge. So this is still just kind of my theory at the moment, is the one who will kill him will be Lancelot, but it's not for the reason that you think. It will be more that he most probably gets together with Guinevere, who is supposed to be Arthur's wife, and in what we can see so far from the little bit of hint that's been dropped by him, it seems that she is gonna be some kind of super powered MacGuffin character that Arthur is supposed to get together with to solidify his rule. Which would seem to imply that if he managed to marry her and get his hands on her, he will be able to fully enact his policy of having wiped out all non-human races and finally create a human-dominated, quote-unquote, utopia. Which, not really that cool. But, again, another theory I'm putting it out right now is that, In the end, okay, as we can seem to guess, all the other races will be leaving off for their own separate realms and into their own other stuff. Um, but okay, as for the whole human dominates Leona's things and the whole Camelot thing and the whole world basically, right? Arthur will most probably be killed by Morden or Mordred. Again, I cannot remember the name. Due to the unification of Lancelot and Guinevere. Whether if they are lovers or not is a different thing. Because right now, from what I can see and from what seems to be implied, it's that Lancelot is actually in love with Jericho, which I totally ship. I love the two of them. They were hilarious together, and I think they suit each other greatly. And just, yeah, it seems to be quite intriguing right now. I kind of take back what I said a bit about the original comments on it about how it has been quite boring. I mean, it has been quite boring, but I have to say, though, the author has taken this in a very interesting direction, and I just really want to see how this ends now. I'm actually now hooked onto all of this, especially after seeing Arthur's ass get handed to him by Lancelot. I mean, to be fair, I did always like Lancelot. Not as much as Gawain. You know, it used to be that he was my favorite character, and then I saw Gawain, and she was hilarious enough that she's not my favorite character. Still, that was quite sad that she's not the most powerful, but give them a bit of time. They will go through a training arc, most probably, and they will eclipse the old Seven Deadly Sins in power. But, yeah. It should be interesting to see how it goes, and I'm still placing my bet on the fact that Mordrin is gonna be some kind of unification between Guinevere and Lancelot, and that they will truly be the one who finally like kills and puts an end to King Arthur's reign. But Percival will most probably become the most powerful character and become like the leader of the Four Knights of the Apocalypse, as befitting of his title of death. But again, that's kind of like further down the line, and it's just kind of a theory right now. Well, anyway, after all that rambling, okay, thank you very much for listening, and I hope to be able to see you in my next video. Thank you, and bye-bye.